Welcome back to the Third and Long Weekly Recap, the show where we talk about the NFL and fantasy football. As always, we'll be going over our winners from this past week from the TNL Dynasty League, share some words from our biggest loser about their loss, then we'll talk Week 5 of the NFL, from Thursday night's most hated primetime game to a close one at Arrowhead Monday night. From there, we'll move into injuries that'll be impacting the NFL and fantasy teams, and finally, we'll look ahead into Week 6 games where managers everywhere will be facing the first season's bye weeks, along with matchups in the league. Congrats to our winners, starting with the good old days, a team that ran into the win column. A pair of rushing touchdowns from Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, and Nick Chubb solidified their win. Knocking on heaven's door is next thanks to an impressive 4-touchdown game by Patrick Mahomes, along with the running backs Dalvin Cook and Josh Jacobs getting touchdowns of their own. The Cleveland Flex offenders were able to edge out Riley Reid option thanks to a huge 30-point game from Austin Eckler and Leonard Fournette. Mark Andrews and his 22 points led Team Mercado past a broken down Hamburglers. In our former champions face-off, One More Time defeated Coronado Bridge Top Bunburger thanks to a stellar performance from Josh Allen, who basically did it all in the first half, and a rookie standout performance by Breece Hall for the Jets. And finally, Ohio Mark had Justin Jefferson to thank for his win, putting up 23 points coming from receptions and yardage. Good job to all of you. Seems that injuries leading up to the week and during games are proving to be an equalizer in most of our league matchups. One person who's getting hit hard by this, along with poor performances, is our... This week, our biggest loser is a repeat offender, Backwoods Hamburglers. A poor performance all around, the Hamburglers only managed to put up 74 points, besting his previous weekly low record, a record that no manager wants to see themselves besting, especially not again. When I reached out for comment, he had this to say: "Since Jonathan Taylor and Cam Akers don't want to put in the work on the field, they can come help me do maintenance." I don't blame the Hamburglers managers for feeling this way. These athletes get paid plenty to perform in their respective positions, and one would hope as running backs they find holes to get up the field. But that doesn't seem to be the case for the two in question. If Hamburglers continues to find themselves at the bottom week in and week out, they might as well start looking ahead to next year's draft and hope to make a better first choice. Moving into our NFL recap, we started things off with the poorest reviewed primetime game to date. The Colts faced the Broncos, and neither of the offenses could string along a drive to reach the end zone. The scoreline had kickers to thank. Colts won 12-9. Sunday started early once again as the Giants and Packers traveled to London. The game stayed close, but the Packers defense could not stop the run game produced by Saquon Barkley, who helped lead the Giants to a win. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the performance Josh Allen had against the Steelers. Allen managed to have a second 400-plus yard game. He started things off with a 98-yard touchdown pass to Gabe Davis, and the floodgates opened from there. The Steelers had no answer for the Bills' offense. Allen also added 42 yards rushing on 5 attempts, an MVP season thus far, and a number 1 QB in rankings. A close game in Cleveland, Herbert and Brissett went toe-to-toe. The Chargers led the game, but the Browns continued to find third down conversions and make big plays to stick with them. A sloppy pass near the final seconds of the game, though, saw Cleveland let the win slip from their hands. Chargers won 30-28. If there was any questioning on what third-string quarterbacks do during the regular season, Bailey Zappi is here to tell you that it's win games. The Patriots managed a shutout victory against the Detroit Lions. Zappi didn't go off like other quarterbacks, throwing 17 for 21 for 188 yards and a singular touchdown, but it was his ability to not turn the ball over, just throwing for one interception, that helped with the win. Couple that with Nick Foles' ability to put through the uprights and the Pats' defense fumble recovery for 6, and you got a 29-0 win. From one third-string quarterback to another, Bridgewater went down for the Dolphins early, so we saw Thompson take on Zach Wilson and the Jets. Wilson put up another reasonable performance, throwing 14 for 21 for 210 yards and a rushing touchdown. Rookie Breece Hall continues to show his value to the Jets' rebuild as he ran 97 yards on 18 carries and a touchdown, but more impressive, had 2 receptions for 100 yards. Hall's running back partner Michael Carter was able to get himself a pair of touchdowns, and the Jets won the game 40-17. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles traveled to Arizona to keep their undefeated season alive. Not wanting to leave it up to faith, Hurts put it in his own hands, rushing 61 yards on 15 carries and 2 touchdowns, while still putting up a respectable quarterback performance, throwing 26 for 36 for 239 yards. The Eagles are flying high above the rest as they move to 5-0 with their 20-17 win. And we wrap things up Monday night where Lady Luck teased the Vegas Raiders, the team leading 20-10 going into the second half. The dynamic duo of Mahomes and Kelsey was too powerful as the pair saw 4 touchdowns. Carr did his best, throwing 2 touchdowns to Devontae Adams, and the Raiders' run game showing dominance as Josh Jacobs ran for 154 yards on 21 carries and a touchdown. Both teams looked to take the lead with a 2-point conversion, but couldn't solidify the win. A last-minute stop by the Raiders defense set them up to move down the field, but the pass rush was too much for the Raiders offensive line. Chiefs ended up taking the win 30-29. Moving into our injuries that will be impacting week 6, we start things off with the Cardinals, who saw 2 running backs go down. James Conner left the game with a rib injury, while a knee injury took out Darrell Williams. Now Conner's injury will be continued to be monitored throughout the week, while Williams has already been ruled out. Baker Mayfield was seen wearing a boot on his left foot after the Panthers game, with initial reports stating that they weren't sure what was wrong. After undergoing an MRI, it was shown that there was no major damage to the ankle, so he'll be avoiding IR, but expect him to miss 1 to 4 weeks, so PJ Walker will likely get the start on Sunday. The Bengals lost T. Higgins early in their Sunday matchup due to an ankle injury. Reports say that this is the same ankle that he's hurt previously, and he'll be monitored over the course of the week. Dalton Schultz, tight end for the Cowboys, didn't return to their game against the Rams due to a questionable knee. The Cowboys camp is optimistic though, and say that he should be seeing the field so long as there isn't any setbacks during practices this week. The Packers lost one of their receiving core in Christian Watson, who exited the game in the second half with a hamstring injury. He didn't practice today, which isn't the best of signs considering he's already missed time this season due to a hamstring injury in week 3. If he plans to put himself in a position to play, he'll need to suit up for practice on Thursday and or Friday. Teddy Bridgewater is now undergoing the NFL's concussion protocol, along with being examined for an elbow injury. The Dolphins would take their time getting him healthy, making sure that he's 100% before allowing him to take the field on Sunday, while Tua remains sidelined. All comments from the Dolphins camp stating that Tua's health is their number 1 priority, not him returning to the field. This means that third-string quarterback Skylar Thompson will be starting the game against the Vikings. But if Bridgewater happens to be cleared, he just might make a second half appearance if things aren't going their way. The Cheetah also lost some speed as Tyreek Hill left the game in the 4th and was seen sporting a boot. Don't count him out though, as the Dolphins are optimistic that he'll be playing Sunday. A hand injury prevented Ty Chandler, running back for the Vikings, from returning to their game against the Bears. Reports say that he broke his thumb and the rookie running back has been placed on IR, so he is now expected to miss multiple weeks. A pair of hamstring injuries for the Patriots sees Damian Harris and Nelson Aguilar missing time. Harris is still getting tests done, but the expectation is he'll be missing multiple games, while Aguilar was limited in practice, something to monitor as more injury reports get put out through the week. Another concussion on Sunday impacts the Saints as Chris Olave will undergo the protocol. He participated in stretching prior to the Saints practice today before moving to the sidelines. Unless he shows more activity during the other sessions this week, don't expect the rookie to take the field. An injury to monitor, Saquon Barkley re-entered the game in the 4th quarter after being deemed questionable, but could impact how they set up their offense in their Week 6 matchup, and this is due to a shoulder injury. Barkley was limited in practice today, and word from the Giants camp is that they don't have too much concern about the injury. Before kickoff, wide receiver Steven Sims of the Steelers sustained an eye injury, while their tight end Pat Freiermuth is yet another name added to the NFL's ever-growing list of concussions. Sims participated in practice sporting a visor and is expected to play against the Bucs while Freiermuth missed practice. The 49ers lost an asset to special teams as Robbie Gould went from questionable to out during their meeting with the Panthers with a left knee contusion. He was labeled as a non-participant for Wednesday's practice, so you might need to stream another kicker if he's usually in your starting lineup. Rashad Penny sustained a serious ankle injury during Thursday night's primetime game. It has now come out that Penny will have to undergo surgery and end his season due to a broken fibula, so all the best to him in his recovery. And finally, the Commanders running back Jonathan Williams was ruled out due to a knee injury and looks like he'll be missing this Thursday's game to aid in his recovery. Now that we made it through injuries, let's take a look ahead at Week 6 games and matchups in our league. Week 6 brings our first bye week, a real test for fantasy managers, especially if they're garnering injuries on their rosters. The Lions, Texans, Raiders, and Titans will all take a break this week. This bye week gives the likes of Josh Reynolds and Devontae Adams to put in some work with the respective quarterbacks, while rookie Damian Pierce, along with veterans Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry, get to rest their legs and backs. Now, we'll start things off Thursday night as the Commanders face off against the Bears. Don't expect the Bears wide receivers to give you many points as they've been a very run-heavy offense, so starting David Montgomery would be the move for early points. After the Commanders, it'll be a toss-up between their receivers. Scary Terry McLaurin should be the one producing for Carson Wentz, but it's Curtis Samuel who's garnering the attention, albeit for checkdown passing. Sunday, we'll have time to make some last-minute adjustments as there's no games taking place in London. We'll see a green face-off as the Jets travel to Cheese Country to face the Packers. Could we see a battle of the running backs between Breece Hall and Aaron Jones? Or will the receiving force, highlighted by the trio of receivers for the Jets and the duo in Green Bay, be where the points stem from? Expect big things from this matchup. The Vikings will be looking to get out of the cold as they travel to Miami to face the Dolphins. Kirk Cousins is showing that even with his age, he can throw with the best of them. With receivers like Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, it's pretty easy for him to find a spot in your lineup. And if things go to a ground war, Dalvin Cook will be your man to rack up points. On the other side of things, with the potential of Bridgewater not being ready for the game due to concussion, the upset of Tyreek, who's also garnering an injury, and Jalen Waddle could be a risky play, so proceed with caution. Now, Barkley owners will be looking for another huge performance from him as the Giants take on the Ravens, while managers rostering Lamar Jackson will be hoping that he does things both in the air, passing to Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman, and using his feet to score touchdowns if J.K. Dobbins can't get in the red zone himself. Panthers fans will be hoping for a major turnaround now that they fired their head coach. Could CMC be the driving force for them sneaking out a win and huge points on your roster? Or is it safe to assume that Cooper Kupp will be too much for the Panthers secondary and he'll continue putting up points thanks to yardage and touchdowns? And also look for some reasonable points coming from the likes of Higbee, while Akers owners will be looking for a reason to either drop him if they haven't already, or cash in on a standout week. Then, will the Eagles continue their undefeated streak? Jalen Hurts will be looked at by fantasy owners to give a solid mix of passing and rushing, snagging touchdowns in any way he can, while the run game and receiving core for both sides will be expected to put up between 11 to 15 points in individual performances. And then we'll wrap things up Monday night as the Broncos take on the Chargers. Now, before kickoff, fantasy managers will hope that their wins are already secured, but if not, the likelihood of you finding the points necessary for a dub on the Broncos offense is slim to none, thanks to less than desirable performances over the past couple of weeks. But if you have any Chargers starting offense, you'll most likely find yourself with a win once all is said and done. As for the third and log league, we have a meeting of number ones as Team Mercado takes on Gumshoe, fresh off of his first loss of the season. So we'll see if the bye weeks and injuries to their rosters makes anything difficult for them in this matchup. We also have Paul Time, who is on a 4-game win streak, looking to continue his run as he takes on Knocking on Heaven Doors. Then we'll see this week's biggest loser in Backwoods Hamburglers, if he'll steal a win from the Good Old Days, who is also on a 4-game win streak, but without Henry this week, thanks to the Titans' bye week. This season's first group of bye weeks will be a test of depth for managers' rosters everywhere. Mix that with all the injuries, and you have yourself a recipe for some low-scoring games. Or, looking on the brighter side of things, the potential for lower-ranked running backs and wide receivers to break out and take advantage of key players being out. With all that being said, this has been your weekly recap video. Be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying the NFL and fantasy football content. Leave a comment with a hot take that you have heading into week 6. Mine for the week, rookie Kenny Pickett leads the Steelers to an upset win over the GOAT Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. For the Third and Long Dynasty League, this is your commissioner, signing off.